Hey everybody, welcome to another Yale solo duo match. Tonight we have Big UwU versus Fashion Rats as we wrap up the group stage of our tournament. Commentating tonight is myself, Benthonic, and Soren Spection.
Hello, everyone.
You may know them from Jeff's How You Like That team, the undefeated team as it stands in the support role. Oh,
Yes.
okay, you're very quiet. I'm going to crank you up.
Oh yeah, no worries. We're getting to bands here, and we can see a Timo and a Vide band coming off right away, and then from Fashionable Rats, we will likely see five top bands depending on what priority they pick top for. So it could be either 3 or 5.
Yeah, a lot of top lane bands as we expected. I think these three bands have been the three bands against Thomas in a majority of his games. It's no surprise seeing that um, Fiora can't necessarily team fight as well as those other 1v9 carries, and Aurelia is just super weak right now. So seeing these three particularly prioritized, especially when Kale and Camille are so strong in their own right, it's no surprise.
Yes, and especially you see the nature of these champions. Kale's more of a scaling champion, but definitely has the potential to be powerful in the mid game. But Camille and Quinn are very good at extending those leads to other lanes and quickly taking over the game before things scale out of control on Fashion Rat's side. Because that is the way that they will be likely to win, by getting to that late game to the point where every member of their team is getting strong enough to counter Epsilon's however fed he is at that point in the game.
Definitely. The Lux, I don't think is any surprise. There's been a lot of Lux early pick this tournament, and I think Big UwU is no stranger to the pick. Usually, I believe this just will slot right into mid. I think it will be more likely to go mid than support, but we may see. Caitlyn Lux, of course, is a strong traditional bot lane, so we might be seeing some Caitlyn Lux as well. I'm excited especially to see the Rakan. I don't think anyone in the tournament has played a Rakan except for me up until now, so glad to see
Yeah,
more
Rakan is
Rakan.
excellent.
Yeah, especially in coordinated fights, you can get some great engages, and I mean he's no slouch in lane if you have the right setup.
He's very strong with Zaya as well. They have innate synergy together. Rakan causes Zaya's W, which is her ability that causes her autos to do extra damage, to do even more damage. And Rakan's E range, which is his dash and his shield, are also increased when he's dashing to Zaya. So they have a very strong lane together, but Zaya's not in a very good location, as are most crit ADCs. So it's unlikely that we'll see her picked.
Okay, so we see the Sejuani being prioritized by Big UwU here. Not uncommon for Big UwU. Luna Rose is a strong Sejuani player and likes to pick that early, but we are seeing the immediate Trundle answer from Pykel here in the jungle. The most most common go-to answer for Sejuani, and you gotta wonder if that's the right move when that Trundle is up.
So we see 2 more top ends here because top has not been picked out yet by Epsilon. So those top ends will not be wasted. Those are 2 other champions that have the potential to become very scary if they get some gold. So there are not very many options left in the top lane for Thomas to pick now.
No, not at all. It almost seems like they're forcing him onto a Fiora. That's like the only thing left up that Thomas has played before, to my understanding. Fiora, I think, does well into Cho'Gath.
Yes, very well.
I would suspect. Okay, I don't know exactly what Fashion Rats is doing here because Fiora is good into Cho'Gath for sure, and they're like asking him to pick it with the bans.
Fashion Rats is an interesting team in the sense that they do a lot of different things, but they don't do one thing very well. They have some team fight, they have some engage, they have the ability to split push, but they don't really have a cohesive identity as to how they want to play games. Like they
Yeah,
do a little bit of everything.
I'm a little concerned for the bot lane being outranged by the Caitlyn Lux. If I'm Rakan here, or Misfortune for that matter, the Caitlyn Lux will just outrange you super hard. Or the
Yes.
Morgana. I guess if the Morgana ends up going support, we don't know. But either way, the range difference in the bot lane is a little concerning. We finally. Go ahead.
Sorry. Both champs synergize excellently with Caitlyn, so either one would be a very solid pick. But especially Lux Caitlyn is a very good defensive and offensive lane. It's very safe, but it also has great pick potential because a Lux Q into a Caitlyn trap is a lot of damage.
The Jax here. We've got to talk about Thomas's pick, of course. The Jax being the answer in the top lane up against this Cho'Gath. A Rumble. That's interesting. We could see Rumble mid. Oh, it's Maokai. Okay, so it's
It's
Mao.
Maokai.
So is this a It's a Cho'Gath mid then, presumably. It'd be a Cho'Gath mid and a
Fairly likely, but
Maokai top.
Rumble could flex into either lane. He can be played in both places, but I think Rumble does pretty well into Jax.
Yes, it's a Maokai. Sorry, I want to be clear. The Rumble's
Oh,
actually a
that's right. That's
Maokai
right. I
pick. Yeah.
forgot.
Um, One thing. So let's take stock of what we've seen here. I want to draw attention to the Sejuani pick. Not only is the Sejuani being countered by the Trundle, the Frost armor going to be stolen away by Trundle Subjugate. There's only one melee ally for the Sejuani with the Jax there. The Lux, the Caitlyn, and the Morgana all being ranged will not allow her to proc her stun all that often.
And Caitlyn Luck's very good at defending against sieges. So it seems like what Big UwU is doing here is they want to set up a team where the Jax can potentially split push, and Caitlyn Lux can do a good job of fending off any sieges that occur while Jax is away trying to split push. They have a very good team for stopping engage, which is what they really need to do against Fashion Rat's team, which has a lot of engage now with the Maokai pick really solidifies that when you have Rakan and Misfortune, which have a very strong all-in with their ults together.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you brought that up because a lot of times when you have these 4-1 comps, the biggest thing to look at is the enemy's engage on that 4. The Jax will likely win the split push into Maokai. I mean, almost certainly, especially given what we know about the players. But it'll be all eyes on the Rakan, I think, especially to find the engages when the Jax is off in the side lane. Because if you can find those openings onto Caitlyn, Lux, and Morg, if you can somehow get in range and CC them, they're going to be weak. But of course, that siege is going to just be so nasty with the traps and the bindings flying everywhere.
Yes, Rakan really has his work cut out for him because it's just gonna be so hard for him to even get close to their team without getting Morgana rooted or having his engage stopped by a Morgana E. It's very hard for him to do his job.
Yeah, I agree. We're going through the drafts right now in the client, and it is the Lux slotting into the mid lane. So that I wonder if that was like intentional from the beginning, or if it was left open and the Morgana pick sort of used as a counter there for the Rakan. I think Morgana is the traditional answer to Rakan, especially in a coordinated play, because that Black Shield can be a really easy answer to Rakan's somewhat telegraphed engages. Still, though, I don't imagine this bot lane. I'm still concerned about the range difference for this MF and Rakan going into lane.
Misfortune can certainly negate that range difference by landing really good Q bounces because the range on the Q bounce is well beyond the auto range of Caitlyn. So that's one way that Misfortune can sort of take back the lane by using her Q really effectively to chunk down either Caitlyn or Morgana because they're both very squishy.
Certainly, that could very well be the case. I don't think that this lane is like doomed in draft for anyone. I don't think. Which draft are you gravitating towards at this point?
I think that Fashion Rats currently has the team that I think is going to come out in the end, but it's just a question of getting to that point where every member of their team is strong enough to defeat Jax or push through the 4v5 siege that I think is pretty likely when the game starts to inevitably spiral towards Fashion Rats. I think that Fashion Rats will start to pick up more of a lead earlier in the game, and I think that they might be able to extend that lead back into a complete win. But we'll see what happens. It could go either way for sure.
Right. Of course, we got to talk about the tanks on Fashion Rats. I think conventional wisdom will say that Fashion Rats just has the advantage overall, just because tanks are very strong and they have 3 of them, and most notably they have a Trundle that will be subjugating away Frost Armor from Sejuani, which is just immense tankiness.
Yeah.
So I think if they're able to make it comfortably, or at least not too far behind into the mid game, and control the split push coming out of the Jax, that the odds of winning are in their favor. But
it really is a question of
No, you go ahead.
Really, it is a question of in the end of controlling the Jax split push because Jax really has the ability to shred tanks. His kit goes very well. He's a lot of hybrid damage. He's hard to itemize against. He does a lot of damage. He's hard to kill. He's a very good champion and he's easy to farm on him and get very ahead in farm. And Epsilon will have no trouble at all, I think,
So,
having a large farm difference in this lane.
yeah, sounds right in his wheelhouse. I think Jax is. I would contend that Jax is probably one of the best like 1v9 champions in the game, as
Yes,
far as like gathering leads and actually winning the game through split push. And I think the added tank shred will definitely be a boon for that pick going into the game because, man, that top side of the map is beefy.
and this is even a game where I would consider taking cut down on Jax, even though Jax might have 3,000, 3,300 health because of just how beefy a lot of these tanks are going to be later in the game. They're just going to have so much health that cut down might end up gaining value later in the game, but it might be the move to just take last stand anyway, as many normally would on Jax.
Right. Yeah, I think cut down has to be the choice here. I don't know if Jax normally goes precision, but seems like that would be a wise choice.
It
Uh,
certainly will for Caitlyn,
oh yeah, no question.
because they're going to struggle to kill tanks unless Jax is in the team fights, because Caitlyn doesn't really have an innate part of her kit that does very well against tanks. She doesn't have percent health, magic damage, or anything like that. So she's really gonna. I think she's gonna struggle to kill these tanks if they decide to if they decide to engage and make it past her trap line and the Morgana and Lux Qs.
Right. Yeah, I definitely agree. I'm
But
take. Go ahead.
I think both teams definitely have the tools to win a team fight, but they also have the tools to negate each other's tools to win the team fight. So in the end, I think it's very much going to be a skill matchup of who uses their ultimates better in team fights, who waits and to use their CC to stop the tanks from engaging. Because I think that's really the key. If they can stop the tanks from getting on top of the carries, that's going to be huge because those tanks will, I think, take a lot of damage in team fights at the end of the day.
Certainly, it does seem to be. It does seem to have the makings of a siege versus anti-siege going on here. The 4-1 that we've talked much about. We're jumping into loading screen here, and the game will be started shortly. Of course, after the 3-minute delay that we just went through. I want to let's see. Let's take a look at runes here. Phase rush here for the Cho'Gath.
That's an interesting pick.
That may be standard, but does seem a little strange. And the Comet for the Lux and the Morgana.
Comet's fairly standard for negating lane sustain because Dark Harvest has much more erratic damage, but is much more consistent later in the game and does a lot more. But Comet is definitely better for sort of stopping that Cho'Gath sustain, which is very, very strong. He heals, I believe, 20 health per minion killed, even at level 1. So he has a lot of sustain.
I did not know that. Interesting. I think the Dark Harvest on the Misfortune likely indicates we'll be seeing a Lethality Misfortune. I don't think that's too big of a surprise given the state of items so far in the preseason, but does give us a little bit of tip-off there. Might be a good sign if you are Epsilon and Sejuani.
Yes. She definitely does not do as well against tanks with that build. But Eclipse Collector is definitely very strong, especially in team fights, because the more often you can apply damage, the more likely you are to proc your Collector passive, which executes any champion who's damaged below 5% health and gives you a little bit of extra gold. So the more often you can deal damage, the more likely you are to benefit from that 5% execute. And each Misfortune wave will proc Collector if they are below 5% health. So it's a very good item on her.
Got some makings of an invade here. We have 5 stacked here from UwU invading that Tribrush. Will be spotted out by Mango Stalker here on the Maokai, and I don't expect anything to come of this except maybe a little information gathering. Some wards being placed and a rupture going wide, yeah. Oh, is this gonna be okay? The ward doesn't die. That's good. No gold given over. No crucial missteps. The Dark Binding lands here.
2 lands.
Onto Mango Stalker. Wow, very clean binding there from Widow's Lux there. Sets up the first blood. An exchange of summoners and oh my goodness, a 5-mana rupture from Van Amsterdam's a teleport. This alright, I revoke my words. This is making a bloody team fight. Here comes Mango Stalker with the teleport and the home guard there.
It looks like both teams will back away here though.
Okay, that's a 1-for-1. The first blood I believe goes over to it went over to UwU, so they have a 200 gold lead there. And at the end of the day, I think both junglers are just going to start their own buffs. Still, though, exciting. Some clean skill shots really coming out from both sides there.
Yes, and Thomas having first blood is very instrumental to him gaining an early lead, which is really what he needs to carry and take an early lead, because that's how this game is going to go.
Yeah, I think if you're Michael, you're a little concerned, or at least, man, you really wish that kill didn't go over to the Jax. this lane,
Yes.
I think this matchup is a little difficult for the Maokai to begin with. So,
but the thing is that he does have half a health bar on him, which gives him the ability to potentially win an early trade, because Maokai actually does trade pretty well in the early game if he's able to. The crucial aspect of trade. Yes, the level 2. He has to get way under turrets.
Yeah. Okay. There we go. So, yeah. I mean, Maokai's sustain, of course, is great with the Sap Magic passive. The engage here from Rakan will be traded with a Dark Binding onto Misfortune into the trap.
Landing here.
Yeah. Same little.
We see here the excellent synergy between Caitlyn traps and Morgana Qs. Huge amount of chunk. If any CC is landed from either party.
Right. Yeah. I think.
But really, for trades in the top lane, I think the best way for Maokai to win these trades is to use his W to not get stunned by Thomas's Counter-Strike, which is his E. And that really lets him get a good trade off, because otherwise it could be difficult for him to even go close in any trade.
We see Red Pink's here coming up. Oh, we have a trade coming in the bot lane as well, but we have a gank also going on in the mid lane. The pillar has caught Widow out, but Van Amsterdam getting chunked. It seems that Pyka will have enough here.
Flash and Barrier available.
Okay, but forces both out of Widow.
Yeah,
Pyka, of course, not having the summoners from the level 1 trade there, but yeah, that was a little bit scary there for Van Amsterdam, I think. Almost dying to the Lux before.
One auto away.
Yeah, before Pykel was there to save the day, really.
Yes, absolutely. And we see here in the top lane, Jax already has a Sheen 4 minutes into the game, so he is going to look for any trade he can get. And we have Sejuani coming top as well. Maokai is really in trouble. There's no way out here.
Yeah, I think this is textbook Big UwU, I think. Whenever Luna Rose, especially on the Sejuani, picks these gank these tanks that are good at ganking out of the jungle, you expect them to path top very frequently, and that's 2 kills already going over to the Jax there. This is amounting to be a standard UwU game. It's just a question of whether or not they can take that lead and comfortably convert it to a map win.
Yes. Jax is very versatile, though, because he has a lot of different Sheen items available to him that allow him to fit the pace of the game and also the enemy team composition. So it's likely here, I think we'll see a Divine Sunderer buy, which is a very good tank shredding mythic item, but it doesn't quite have the damage and attack speed that Trinity Force does. So it's an interesting dilemma to resolve, but I think Triforce may end up being the move if he really wants to capitalize on his early lead and snowball away.
Yeah, we already see them Epsilon's already trying his best to really zone off Mango Stalker here. I think this lane's only going to keep getting worse, but I will refrain from shouting Doomsday quite yet.
At this point, all he can do is just try to stay in experience range of the minions.
Right.
And maybe pick up a minion every once in a while with a sapling. But down in the bot lane, it seems like not too much is going on. Just a farm session here. Only 2 CS difference. No, 1 CS difference. So it's going to be very... Oh, we have Rakan getting caught out in mid W. Very good Q. So that engage is going to be thwarted.
Okay, we have a solo kill there for Epsilon. They were doing a little bit of a dance there in the top lane. I think Mango Stalker was not prepared for that flash to come back available, and Epsilon just kind of finishes the deal with, I don't know, maybe he was level 6 during that trade, or maybe he got it after, but that will be the 3rd kill over to the Jax.
At this point, there's really nothing Maokai can do except for try to stay somewhat even in farm experience. He can't even get close enough to farm because he'll probably die if he does.
Yeah, most certainly. Bot lane, I think you got to be happy with the state of bot lane if you're Fashion Rats. I would have expected this to be a little more scary. Ooh, good engage.
Beautiful Rakan.
Good engage here. The Black Shield was not in time, but the Dark Binding was. That will combo into a Trap Net. Good combo from Nice Condemn there to chunk out Zhang Pao.
It's really so hard for Rakan to do anything here. He has to carefully track the windows opportunity he has with Morgana's Q being down or E being down. And they're also so low. We have a good flash in the mid lane here from Cho'Gath, narrowly evading death.
Yeah, the final spark there. As everyone hits sixes here, I think people often forget those power spikes at level 6. Another trig for the Rakan. I'm happy whenever I see Rakan trading in lane. I think Rakan. Sometimes it feels like Rakan can not add anything to a lane, but I don't think that's always the case. I think if you land the double use, you can really come away with some fantastic trades. So I'm glad to see some aggressive attempts coming out of here from Salacian.
Yes, absolutely. And if we compare the basic cooldown for Morgana's Black Shield to Rakan's knockup, we see that there's a big difference in favor of Rakan. So there's definitely a small window of opportunity for him to make trades after a trade has been made and Morgana has used her Black Shield. So that's really the only chance he has to really win trades, maybe even secure kills.
Certainly. The Cloud Drake being picked up by Luna Rose in the meantime will help them grow their lead a little bit. They're now about to 2,000 gold and a Drake, so conventional wisdom will say that's about 500 gold for the Drake, about 2,500 now for Big UwU. Most of it, of course, in this Jax, who has gathered a 26 gold lead already at 8 minutes. So some sizable advantages already being made by Big UwU.
And Jax is opting for Trinity Force this game, so it looks like he's going to play aggressively and opt for more damage in favor of winning the game, as opposed to doing a more defensive build with Divine Sunderer. Lux coming back in the mid lane here. The farm difference is only pretty slight in the mid lane, only 9 minions, which is all right in favor of Cho'Gath because it's hard for Cho'Gath to farm without using a lot of mana against Lux.
Wow, these top trades are getting more and more bleak. Epsilon there took, I think, 2 tower shots and still came out on top. We might see him go for a dive. He has a level advantage and is just whacking away, getting plates. Van Amsterdam is pathing up top, and it seems that Epsilon is aware. We'll back off there, but I already got 1 plate there. We see the support in the jungle, Pykel and Salacian, grouping up here, looking to try to get on top of Widow. Notably, Widow has 2 summoners available to barrier in the flash. We've already seen Thwart a gank before.
This is a
again,
good engage. Forces the flash.
Right. This Lux been summonerless for most of the game, but has yet to die, so props to them. I feel like Yvonne. I've casted many Yvonne games. Yvonne gets ganked a lot, and you know, I don't think she dies very often, so props to them. See, we have a little bit of a scuffle here. Pykel, I think, had a subjugate dropped onto Luna Rose and is trying their best to try to finish this kill, but they're just getting kited out. Now Yvonne might have found themselves in a little bit of a pickle. The final spark doesn't quite hit, and Pykel will narrowly survive. That's a little bit of a tragedy.
Just a few units too short to the immediate right. Almost had it there.
Yeah. Quite sad.
Misfortune still commanding a very respectable CS versus that lane, especially with Rakan roaming, which is really good to see in terms of Misfortune really coming back and doing something in the mid game to maybe bring back the game.
Yeah. Pykel here looks to be pathing towards the Rift Herald as I think the top side of the map has a little brief pause in the pressure for Fashion Rights now that Thomas has recalled. Notably, I want to point out that while that fight was sort of going on in the bottom side of top river, Mango Stalker was forced to teleport to lane in order to alleviate Epsilon's pressure. So with the Drake spawning in just under 2 minutes, there will be a top lane advantage in favor of the Jax. Meanwhile, we have oh my gosh, we have a great quickness from Salacian here. Gets the combo with the bullet time on top of it, but Nice Condemns survives with a sliver of health. Well, nevertheless, we'll force them out of lane and force Luna Rose to show bottom.
A very close exchange.
Yeah, engages like that always feel so bad. It's a matter of optimizing 1 auto or 2.
Yes, absolutely. In the top lane, it looks like Thomas is looking to knock down the turret before plates fall. Mango Stalker doing his best to hold the minions away from tower as long as he can to keep his turret intact. But it looks like it will be falling soon.
Oh my gosh, look at this play from Epsilon. Just no respect for Michael at this point. Just takes the plate right in front of his face, takes the tower shot, and ends up winning a trade still. Oh boy.
He barely has enough mana to use his W at this point, which is the ability that allows them to dash to someone and root them. So he might actually die if Epsilon chooses to dive him. It looks like he'll just take the tower.
It's already a 2-level difference here. I imagine he'll try for both. Yeah, here we go. Twisted Advance does land on Epsilon, and the stun will nevertheless land, and I don't think Epsilon is even sweating here. And that will be a kill, and likely the tower. Depending if...
I actually think Maokai could have potentially won that trade if he used his W to negate Thomas's stun. I think that could have allowed him to take a few more turret shots and maybe even go even in that trade. It was very close nonetheless.
Glacial Prison does land on Celestian, who's trying to flee, getting some Drake vision. Will escape. Now Pykel's showing top lane with this dragon up. You imagine that this will be just a free Drake for Big UwU with all of this pressure from Epsilon. Though the Subjugate has been used on Epsilon, who is now manaless.
So his dueling power is very much limited.
Do they have enough for a hop? Okay, no, they don't. They will burn the flash. It's not bad though. You get the Drake off of that.
And we have an Ocean Dragon, which is going to be very, very strong for Fashion Rats with all their tanks.
Oh, solo kill here from
an easy kill in the mid lane picked up.
Well played. I think this Ocean Drake is certainly good news for Big UwU. It will make their siege just even more nasty, and Ocean Soul, you know, being commonly regarded as the most strong soul, is good news if you've already have two of the dragons.
Yes, it's a very important dragon to deny Fashion Rats. Fight in the mid lane here.
Okay, it looks like we have a 2v2 going on here. The barrier being used by Yvonne. The final spark will force the flash out of Pykel, and the Twisted Advance, I think, used on a minion. And Widow, I think, will survive here. There's still the teleport, and here comes Van Amsterdam, but they are running out with their tail between their legs. Good pickups there. Epsilon still looking for more.
He is very strong at this point. He could potentially just dive Cho'Gath if he comes too close. He really just has to give plates. He's looking to dive anyway.
Yeah.
Show him his boss.
I like it. Quickness used here will land onto Baba Bassi, who pops the Zanya's. Bullet time does more than enough damage to finish off Nice Condemn, and will also force a flash out of the Morgana. Finally, the kill going over.
Really great fight.
Yeah, this bot lane has been winning trades for Fashion Rats all game, and they finally get away with their first kill.
And we're also starting to see a noticeable CS difference grow in the bot lane to almost a kill's worth of gold on top of the kill that we just saw here.
So there's some hope here for Fashion Rats. It's sort of been the Thomas show so far, but a glimmer of hope coming out of the bottom lane.
The Thomas show, we have a 2v1 in the top lane between Trundle, Maokai, and Jax.
Yeah, I mean, this
He's
is
only one mana though, but he should be able to pick this up.
Oh, this is getting close.
It's actually
the smite lands. All right, that'll be a shutdown going over to the Trundle. Yeah, we see pings coming down from Epsilon in his chat. Not enough mana. Yes, indeed.
Interestingly, I see that Trinity Force champions struggle a lot more with mana than they used to. I think that the mana changes that they did to try to alleviate the fact that Trinity Force no longer has mana really didn't go far enough. And we see Jax running out of mana pretty quickly, actually.
Oh, I think Nice Condemn has found themselves a little caught out. We'll use heal and run to the teammate of Baba Bassi, and I suppose that situation was diffused with that summoner exchange. Still, Lunar Rose is here, and I'm not sure if Fashion Rats. No, Glacial Prison does hit.
Good ult. That should, and the flash comes out, which is essential to live.
Most certainly.
There's a summoner spell there because Misfortune is pretty vulnerable without flash. Because as long as you hit her, her movement speed, she loses her movement speed for a brief period of time. So that's really the best way to collapse on her and kill her.
Yeah, you know, if I were Zhang Powa here or Van Amsterdam, I think I would have liked to see a cleanse from either one of them. I think when you see a Lux and a Caitlyn and a Morgana and a Sejuani, who you know that you will be, 4v4ing against for a majority of the game, I think cleanse should be a pretty strong answer to all of that card control.
To that effect, we may even see a QSS picked up later in the game.
I would hope so, yeah. Okay, Rakan here with the quickness on the flank.
Great flank.
The teleport
really taking so much damage. Flashes out of the W, even though he has black
shield. Teleport interrupted by Epsilon. But Mango Stalker might have spelled his own doom with that.
Yes, he is most certainly dead.
Yep. Oh, the Twisted Advance and the Sap Magic buys
Good
a little
W.
time, but that's not enough.
So on the itemization side, we have Caitlyn with a Gale Force, which is an interesting decision here, because maybe it's for the idea of dodging Cho'Gath or Rakan skill shots, but it's definitely an interesting item, probably a bit undertuned, but could be used to great effect potentially.
Yeah, Gale Force has definitely been, labeled as one of the weaker AD carry items, but for anyone who's familiar with like Saber and like high elo Caitlyn players, Gale Force does enable you to do some pretty flashy animation cancels. Though I don't think any animation cancel is gonna save Nice Condemn from the damage coming out of Zhang Power here. Yeah, but I think Gale Force allows you to. I'm not sure exactly what the combo is. You'd probably have to ask Daniel. I use Daniel. He's Galaxy X. I use his name because we're cool like that. But yeah, you can do some pretty cool combos with the Caitlyn.
Definitely a skill cap item. We have Dragon coming up here, and I think that both teams will really want to fight for this. So we have Jax coming to Dragon to potentially contest. We have the makings of a team fight here with potentially Cho'Gath caught out here. Yes, he definitely will be caught out.
Yeah, the Rupture will not catch the Jax there.
Well.
Final Spark will catch the Rakan as well. A Flash Burn from Epsilon to kill the AD carry. And this is looking to just be a clean wipe for Big UwU. So the gold lead now growing to about 4,000, and with a Ocean Soul or rather an Ocean Soul point being almost certainly secured. The win opportunities for Fashion Rats are shrinking quite substantially.
It looks like we won't be getting to the late game split push paradigm that I described, but you never know, because in the last game we saw an amazing comeback. So really anything can happen at this point.
Yeah, certainly. The answer from Pykel there, I think a wise answer to just go ahead and pick up that Rift Herald. Oh my goodness, Epsilon just completely ignoring Celestin here. The quickness used to try to get Epsilon to take more tower shots, but I don't think Epsilon cares at all, and he certainly doesn't look like it.
He's a little low on mana, but reasonable enough for a few ability rotations.
Yeah, definitely.
But Ocean Dragon will definitely be very much appreciated by him to keep those mana levels up in the later game. And
all
he's
right.
Looking for blood here again.
I had 2v1 attempt here from
here.
Thomas. The Subjugate is used, I believe, but Van Amsterdam is falling quickly.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, but he goes down.
Wow, okay.
The AP Cho'Gath ult really just takes half of his health away instantly, and he goes down.
Was that a shutdown? Let me check. Yeah, that is a 900, or no, sorry, a 650 gold shutdown. Going over to the Trundle again. So the Trundle, well, let's check the gold here. I think the Trundle ought to be pretty rich. Yeah. Yeah, the Trundle, of course, is the second richest player in this game, which in hindsight that makes sense, but a lot of shutdowns going on to Pykel here.
Lux is just very strong with all the poke that she has right now. Eventually she'll pick up Horizon Focus, which basically all of her damaging abilities can proc, which is just a solid damage increase.
Twisted Advance here finds Lunar Rose. And the ult coming out from Maokai will... Okay, Von there takes it, but Rift Herald will kill that tower. The Glacial Prison lands on Van Amsterdam, and here comes Epsilon, but the four members of Big UwU have found themselves in a bullet time from Zhang Power. The Final Spark, wow, that was really good. It lands onto three members there.
Good block of the Caitlyn ult.
That team fight looked pretty concerning there until that Final Spark came through. There was a well-placed bullet time from Zhang Power. I think Epsilon is in a good position now to just clean up the end of this. We'll kill Mango Stalker here.
At this point, it's very difficult to stop the Jax from doing exactly what he wants to do in team fights. Really, the only one who can is Cho'Gath, as we saw earlier with his with the amount of CC and damage he has. We have Rakan coming in with an ult to save Trundle potentially.
Yeah, good amount, good
peeler. It looks like it will stop them.
But Siege.
So we have Caitlyn and Lux teaching in the mid lane.
So a little bit of a, a little bit of a few shaky steps there from Big UwU, but still the gold lead is growing. It's up to 5,000 now.
But we definitely saw, I think, the makings of a potential great team fight from Fashion Rats with the Misfortune Ultimate turning the tides there
Oh
for
wait,
a second.
Shrelia is burned here from Celestia, and I think they really want this 3v2 mid lane. The final spark does land and will chunk Sang power, but I think Widow seems to have...
Looking to pick up a kill. Another kill to the Trundle. He is very strong at this point.
Yeah, final spark, of course, rooting yourself. So that will set up to some more CC there.
It looks like they're clearing vision of Baron. It's unlikely that they'll try to do it, though. Really, the only way they could do that if they knew Jax was away and he did not have TP. That's the only way they could potentially win a fight at Baron. We have Jax TPing in the mid lane, actually, to potentially pick up a kill on Cho'Gath. But the Q lands, so he will not be able to get anything off of that.
I would really be surprised if Fashion Rats ever does take a cheeky kind of Baron in this game. I don't think their comp is particularly good at taking it. Misfortune,
Oh, no,
especially when building lethality, not very strong in 3 tanks. Well, good at soaking up damage from the Baron. Will not shred that very quickly. I think Bababazi is likely dead here, being caught up by 3 members of Fashion Rats. Sonia's will buy some time, but that will be the end there. I'm seeing pings falling onto Baron here. I think Pykel just wants to use this 4v5 to just shred this Baron.
Jax does not have TP, so he cannot come unless he walks there or recalls. But it looks like Cho'Gath is going to stay to try to stop his split push. But I'm not sure he can realistically do anything. But the Baron looks like will be picked up pretty easily by Fashion Rats. But it looks like they're just going to opt to break down the base instead.
I mean, it's taking an awfully long time for Fashion Rats here. Big UwU is just saying, okay, you guys can take that Baron, but it's going to take you a long time, and we're just going to get mid and bot prio instead. And so far, I think it seems to be working. Luna Rose might even have a chance of stealing this. That'll be a kill over for Epsilon. It's very close, and in the end, we'll go over to the Maokai for Fashion Rats. So Fashion Rats walks away with it, but I think this will be 2 inhibitors in exchange. Epsilon's going to path mid to try to finish this one off. Or no, he won't even be needed.
It looks like they will get Dragon as well with the Soul, which may end up sealing the game shut in terms of any chance of Fashion Rats coming back.
Well,
it looks like they will be pathing straight there.
I mean, don't speak too soon. I mean, oh no, they have walked right into a brilliant final spark and a trap here from Big UwU.
But Jax is getting chunked here. That he's standing in Misfortune ult. That's going to shred him up.
Okay,
and
interesting
it looks like
exchange
they can still potentially fight for Dragon, but maybe not. They might just decide to defend the base.
Okay, I think
Soul.
That looked bad for Fashion Rats, but you got to remember that Luna Rose there was dead, and Pykel was alive, so they had their jungler, jungle advantage rather for this Dragon, and had they not walked into that trap, they may have been able to just wipe that fight. Still, Luna Rose here. We'll just kind of walk up and smite it and say thanks for the thanks for setting it up for me.
I appreciate the 25 gold.
Yeah.
But it's with all the sustain that Ocean Dragon grants, we will hopefully see some grievous wounds on the side of Fashion Rats to negate that. Especially, it's concerning to see no grievous wounds except for Cho'Gath on the side of Fashion Rats even just for Jax. Jax is going to heal enormous amounts, even just through Conqueror and Blade of the Ruined King. And shutting some of that down is going to help them kill him quickly.
Yeah, I think the game has started to grow. Well, the game has certainly started to feel a lot closer, and I think it's mostly due to these tank items coming through for Fashion Rats. The Cho'Gath, of course, going AP, but does have that Bramble Vest and the Giant's Belt. But we have the Sunfire. We have 2 Sunfire Capes, 2 more Bramble Vests, and a whole lot of resistances. Oh, well.
The W goes a bit far, and it looks like he's going to have to ult out to get away. But they will try to collapse him anyway, and he looks pretty caught out here. I'm not sure what he can do.
Yeah, I think this is a pretty good setup for Fashion Rats if they can just pin down Thomas.
Excellent ward hop over the wall to disengage. But his team can't do anything with the pressure because they're out of position, so nothing ventured, nothing gained here.
Oh. Okay,
but Trundle is immensely strong, actually, because he has a lot of damage, but he can just ult Sejuani and get all the tankiness he needs for team fights. So he is a serious threat.
Oh, most certainly. So we're finally getting...
the key for... Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say we're finally seeing some sieging going on here from Big UwU. We've talked about how their comp is especially good at it, and now that they have Ocean Soul and a large Jax, they're just trying to abuse the strengths of their compositions and walk this one into the base.
We'll see them here potentially try to defend their last inhibitor turret, but at the point that the three inhibitors get broken, there is actually, I was just looking at this, there's only a statistically a 7% chance of winning if your team loses all three inhibitors, which is
And
interesting data. But it looks like they will just run in and dominate the team and potentially. Actually, it's not quite as much domination as it appears to be.
yeah,
Or still,
this is quite a split fight. I was gonna sound some alarm bells because Pyko was in the bot lane. It seemed to be really caught out, but we had a BigWoo actually go forward a little bit there, and they will continue to go forward onto Van Amsterdam as another kill will be picked up with Epsilon and friends.
it's up to the tanks here at this point to potentially save the game.
Pykel's exerting a lot of pressure from the backside here, just doing the best to either cut the wave or just, caution off the members of BigWoo from going in, but Epsilon just continues to be a nuisance onto these towers. Here comes Celestian with the quickness. Will be stopped by the Dark Binding as Epsilon just jumps onto Zhang Power and kills that AD carry. Will likely cut down this tree with the final spark over the top. Well placed from Widow. And that will be a double kill over to the Jax, and likely the end of the game.
I think that early lead very key for Jax dominating the Maokai lane and exerting that pressure all across the map. He didn't really need to split push at all to win the game, as I thought he might. Very well played.
Blue team surrendered there at the end. That was I didn't see that. That was definitely a big win. Well played by them. They really executed that comp just as they needed to. Of course, Epsilon gathering that big lead that we've seen them do many times before, and this time taking the game with it. We've seen some games hard to carry from that top lane alone, but the rest of the team doing a great job and arguably winning every lane.
Yes, absolutely. Very good use of a lead there. Really allowed them to take over this game. But as we saw throughout many team fights, I think Fashion Routes definitely had the potential to come back with their strong ult synergy, but it really wasn't enough in the end.
It wasn't. All right, well, that will be the end of this game. We have one more game coming up next. I don't think I'll go offline. I will just go ahead and switch to be right back. But stay tuned. We have another game. It's not a best of 3. There's one more group stage match coming up after this. I believe it is Team Gut versus UwU. So I think we'll see UwU once more. But that will do it for this match. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for watching.